Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video is going to be a collection video. I'm going to be sharing my entire eyeshadow palette collection, just kind of going through all of my palettes, maybe just kind of touching on them briefly because you can see here we have a lot of palettes going on. So this is what my eyeshadow palette collection looks like. I've been getting a lot of requests to do a makeup collection or especially an eyeshadow palette collection, so that's what we're doing today. I am planning on doing a declutter sometime soon here, and last time I did a full overview of my collection before I did my declutter. It kind of helped me just go through my collection, maybe see what's on kind of like the chopping block, what I should be using to see if I do want to eventually end up decluttering it. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. We clearly have a lot of palettes to get through. I think I'm gonna go ahead and break this down kind of by brand and show each of the palettes by each brand. I saw my friend Molly, or Makeup Molly, do this in her eyeshadow collection video that she posted recently. I'll go ahead and have that one linked down below in case you wanna see another eyeshadow palette collection video. I would recommend checking her out. But yeah, let me go ahead and get this sorted by brand and we will go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so I'm not going to go in any kind of brand order or anything like that, but first up I grabbed out here my Colourpop eyeshadow palettes. So this first one here is the Perception palette. This was the collaboration with Makeup Shayla. I have just been loving this palette. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Love the colors in there. These next two are the Soul and Mar palettes. These are kind of recently new to Colourpop. I could probably say that about a lot of things though, but the Mar palette is kind of like the blue-green, and then the Soul palette had that red in there, and then some of the bronzes and kind of the browns in here too, but those palettes do have mirrors on them. This next one here is the All I See Is Magic palette, and this one was really nice too. I was getting a lot of use out of it when I first picked it up. I purchased that one along with the Dream Street palette, which was the collaboration with Kathleen Lights, and it was so funny because I actually first really enjoyed the All I See Is Magic, and then I changed my mind and I liked the Dream Street one even more. So I really like this palette. I'm filming this the day before I head off to my Vegas vacation, and I'm probably gonna go ahead and pack this. This is kind of nice to do this today, see which palettes I want to take with me. This next one here is the Double Entendre palette. So you can see it is a very, very neutral palette. So if you're a neutral lover, you would really get on with this one. So that is the Double Entendre. The next one is the Yes Please palette. This one got a ton of hype when it first came out. Honestly, this is probably my least favorite palette amongst all my Colourpop palettes, which is weird because so many people love this one, but I just thought it was all right. Next up, this was a collaboration with I Love Sarah E. This is the Saucy palette, and I purchased both of them, and I really like this one for the purples in there, and I like kind of smaller palettes. This other one here was also the collaboration with I Love Sarah E. This was in Cheeky, so this was more of the neutral palette in there. And then this one, I think this was my first ever palette with the pressed eyeshadows from Colourpop, which I love miles more than the Super Shock shadows. And this one, I don't think it actually even had a name, or Made You, I don't know if Made You Look is the name of it, but this was when they were first releasing their pressed powders. So that is another one here from Colourpop. So that is my Colourpop collection. So next up here, this is my Juvia's Place collection. Alrighty, so this palette here is the Saharan. I think this was one of the first palettes that I got from Juvia's Place, excuse me. That is the Saharan. Next one here is the Nubian. I think this was one of their, I'm not gonna say it's their first palette because I really have no idea which was their first one, but one of the first ones that I started hearing about. This one is a very neutral palette, which Juvia's Place is not known for. So this one is more on the neutral side. And then also here, this is the Masquerade palette from Juvia's Place. You can see you have a bunch of different colors, shades inside here. So that one is the Masquerade. Oh, this is actually the Masquerade Mini, excuse me. This is the Mini, which seems funny because that doesn't seem very mini to me. The next one here is the Saharan 2. So this one is the 9-pan palette, and the shadows in here are just huge. Isn't that so crazy? Wild. All right, next up here is the Festival palette. I think this is the palette from Juvia's Place that intimidates me the most, I think I would say, because this color selection in here, I'm what in the world do I do here? My poor little non-artistically creative mind gets very overwhelmed by this palette, but still Juvia's Place has such nice quality and really good prices, and I'm really glad to see them at Ulta now also. And this one is the Douce palette from Juvia's Place. duh. I feel like I'm gonna say that a lot, so I apologize in advance. But this one actually is probably my favorite Juvia's Place palette. I just like it so much. I like the colors in here. I love this pink shimmer. It's so beautiful, but I don't know, something about this palette, I'm just so drawn to it. When people say, what's your favorite Juvia's Place palette? Honestly, it's this one. So that is my Juvia's Place palette collection. So next up here we have my Dose of Colors collection. So this first one here was the collab with Desi and Katie. This is the girls eyeshadow palette. I'm actually just filming in front of a window, so I'm not sure how my lighting will go. I have no extra lights on me right now, but I am in my living room, so I have an even larger window. But this is the girls palette from their first collaboration. I'm really excited for them to collab again. I'm definitely eyeing the palette in the next collaboration. And then I have these three palettes. Also, this is the first one that I purchased from Dose of Colors when they came into Ulta, the Marvelous Mauves palette. I am super light-handed when it comes to my eyeshadows, and this palette to me is like crazy how used it looks because I'm just so light-handed. Obviously I have a very large collection. I'm trying new things a lot, so I'm, you know, reaching for new palettes often, but this is one of my most used palettes, definitely my most travel with palette. I don't even have to think if this one's going to Vegas with me. It definitely is. I just love my Marvelous Mauves so much. I also have the Sassy Sienna, so I still have the brush in this one. I actually like the brushes that come with the Dose palettes also. So this one is more of kind of like that orangey. We got some browns in there, but again, I love the quality of these palettes. I think that they're fantastic. I would highly recommend. And then I also have the Baked Browns in here. Once again, I think I still have the brush in there too. I really like these. I love the mini palettes with the 5 shades. I like the mirror in here. I like the packaging. It's so small and compact, easy to travel with. Like the brushes. I really liked the Baked Browns. Also, if you just want like a good old like brown smoky eye, boom, you can get it out of here. So those are all my palettes from Dose of Colors. Moving on, this is my collection from Urban Decay. So starting over here, this is their new holiday release. This is the Elements eyeshadow palette. I just got this one. I do have a video of like trying new makeup using this palette, and I will be reviewing it shortly, but so far so good for the Elements palette. I also have here the Naked palette. This is the original Naked palette that has now or will be discontinued here shortly. I got this one fairly recently from Urban Decay. I haven't used it too much myself, but I'm definitely gonna be holding on to it, especially now that it's been discontinued. So I'm glad that I have that one. This one here is the Back Talk palette. So this has the face shades on one side, and then you also have the eyeshadows on the other. I also have some here from the Kristen Leanne collaboration. One was the Kaleidoscope palette. You just kind of have an array of different eyeshadows in here, and then this one was the one that I got a lot of use out of. I mean, you can see it's more neutral. Those are definitely my vibes. So this one here, what was this one called? This one was the Daydream. Yes, the Daydream palette. I also have the Born to Run palette. This is such a nice eyeshadow palette. I highly recommend this one. I've been recommending it pretty much since I got it. So that's a really fun palette. I'm considering taking this one to Vegas with me too, just because it has so many colors in it. I can go neutral, I can go colorful, and I really like the big mirror on it. We got 6 girls going on this trip, so who knows what mirror time is gonna look like, you know what I'm saying? And then this one was their last year holiday release. So this is the all shimmer palette here with the mirror in the center. So I really did like this one too. It has stuck around, even though I'm not a big all shimmer palette girl. This one has continued to stick around because I really did like the quality inside. So that is everything for my Urban Decay collection. Into my Anastasia Beverly Hills collection, I just have 3 eyeshadows here. So first up, the Modern Renaissance. This is the one that kind of like kicked off my love for Anastasia eyeshadows. So we have the Modern Renaissance. Next up we have the Soft Glam, another palette that I've just absolutely been loving. This is like such a me palette. This one might come to Vegas with me, or maybe the Norvina palette. This is the newest palette currently from Anastasia. I know they got a new holiday release coming up. I just was wearing this one the other day and it was so freaking pretty. So I don't know, one of the Anastasia palettes might come with me. I really do like the quality in here. The Modern Renaissance came with me, I mean, for like a solid year after it came out. This was the one going everywhere with me, but kind of the Soft Glam kind of like you know? So I don't know, I'll just have to decide which one's coming with me, but that is my Anastasia collection. Moving over to Huda Beauty, I just have these 4 Obsessions palettes here. So we have the Smoky palette, which I like so much. I honestly just love these 9-pan palettes. They're only $27. They have a mirror, great packaging. I'm just so impressed with them. I just keep buying more and more of them. This is the Coral Obsessions. This one is absolutely beautiful as well. We have the Warm Brown Obsessions, which is just like a total me eyeshadow palette. Yes, love it, please. And then we also have the Mauve Obsessions. So I know that I'm going to take Dose of Colors Mauves with me, so I wouldn't need this one, but I'll probably end up bringing one of these with me too, just because they're so easy to pack. I'm thinking maybe this one, since we're going for a bachelorette party and the night that we go out to celebrate the bachelorette, like maybe doing like a really fun smoky eye and maybe doing this silver shade. I don't know, it's kind of what I'm thinking, but I love my Huda Beauty palettes. Moving over, this is my Violet Voss collection. So the first palette that I got was the Holy Grail palette. I enjoy this palette so much. I've constantly recommended it. I think I put it in my top 6 neutral everyday palettes. I just enjoyed this one so much. The shades in here, the neutral tones, but then we got some fun colors. That orange on the top I just love. So really big mirror in these two. Really enjoy my Holy Grail. Then I also do have the Hashtag palette. So we have a little bit more color in this palette, some purples, and that second row of shimmer is really pretty also. So that's the Hashtag palette. My newest one here is the Flamingo palette. This came out this summer and I was just so excited to get it. Let me see how I can get it in frame here. Okay, so this is the Flamingo palette. Again, really like the mirror on it. I was a little unsure about this palette at first, but I've ended up coming up with some really, really pretty looks with this palette. So really am liking that one. So that's my Violet Voss collection. This is my Wet n Wild collection here. So we have Rosé in the Air, and these palettes, I swear Wet n Wild palettes are so hard for me. Like Wet n Wild anything is so hard for me to open. So this is the Rosé in the Air. This was supposed to be like the modern Renaissance dupe. So that is Rosé in the Air. Next up we have Not a Basic Peach. I was actually really excited about this palette, mostly for that blue because I thought it was so beautiful, but it ended up not, I didn't love it as much as I was hoping I would. And again, speaking about that blue in general. So that one is Not a Basic Peach. And then we also have Nude Awakening. And this one is just a really, I'm telling you guys, Wet n Wild palettes, they're so difficult for me to open. Okay, so this one is just like a very neutral palette. This would be like a great like work office style of palette. So that one is Nude Awakening, and that is my Wet n Wild collection. So this is my collection from Sigma Beauty. So this was there, I think this came around last holiday, I want to say. This is the Creme de Couture palette. So you have a bunch of colorful shades in here. It's more of a pastel palette, which I'm not a huge pastel palette girl, but this one was actually pretty nice, and I liked a lot of the shades in there. I also have the Wildflower palette. This one is an eye and cheek palette. I kind of use it for everything, and I enjoyed this palette so much. This is another one that comes traveling with me quite a bit. You only have 4 eyeshadows in here, but it's like I know what I'm going to do when I open this palette. Like I have my look with this palette, and then I also get a blush and a highlight. So I really like this one also. And this one is the Warm Neutrals Volume 2. I again mentioned this one in my top 6 neutral palettes. This is such a nice palette. This one has been in my collection for a while, and I just consistently reach for it. It's not one of those that kind of gets buried after a while. It continually stays on top of my collection because I just enjoy the shades in here so much. So those are my palettes from Sigma Beauty. I just have 2 palettes here from Colored Raine. The first one here is the Queen of Hearts palette. This palette got so much attention when it was first coming out. It is a really nice eyeshadow palette. Again, kind of gives you that modern Renaissance type of vibes. It does have a nice mirror as well, so that is the Queen of Hearts. And then I also have one of their mini palettes. This is the Berry Cute palette. So you just have 6 different shades in here, and that purple is really nice. So those are my 2 palettes that I have from Colored Raine. So up next here we have my Morphe Brushes collection. So I have these 2 palettes here. These are the 25A and 25B. This one here is the 25A eyeshadow palette, and then this next one here is the 25B. I also have, this one is the original 350. So this one's gotten some love from me over time. That is the 350. I believe this one is the 3502. Yeah, 3502 is this one here. So kind of like the revamped version of the 350. I also have the Jaclyn Hill palette that Jaclyn Hill did in collaboration with Morphe Brushes. I have the 24G, the Grand Glam palette. This is a huge palette with huge pan sizes in here. They're supposed to be good for eye and also face shades. This one here, oh, this is actually a blush palette. Let's go ahead and we're gonna kick that one out. That was stored with my eyeshadow palettes. That was my bad. And then this next one here is the collab that actually Kathleen Lights did in collaboration with Morphe. So that here is my Morphe Brushes eyeshadow palette collection. So next up I have my MAC Cosmetics collection, and actually all of my palettes that I have from MAC are in collaboration with Patrick Starrr. So this one is the newest one that I have in collaboration with Patrick Starrr. I'm still testing this one out because I will be giving my review on it shortly. These next two came together in a collection. If I can go ahead and open these. So again, we just have little eyeshadow quads here. These two I actually really do like quite a bit. This one is the really neutral one. This here was, I think, his second to last collection. One that I didn't love as much as I have some of the other ones. And this one here is kind of like that floral collection. This one had that bright blue and that bright pink in there. So those are my palettes with MAC Cosmetics, all in collaboration with Patrick Starrr. Up here I have my collection with Viseart. So this was the first palette that I got. I actually got it as a gift from a friend. And this one here is the neutral matte eyeshadow palette. This one here is my newest one from Viseart, and this is the warm mattes eyeshadow palettes, and this is a really nice one for fall. I did recently review this one in a follow-up video. I also have the Theory palette here. This one came in the Beautylish Lucky Bag that was released, so that is the Theory palette. And then I also have the Petite Pro eyeshadow palette here, so that one. So that is my collection here from Viseart. So next up, this is my collection from Bad Habit, which can be found on the Shop Hush website. So this one here is the Aphrodite palette. These are all kind of like the dupe palettes. So this one is a dupe for a Huda Beauty palette. And then I believe same thing here with the Athena palette. I also have, this one is the Aura palette. Looks like so, a lot of fun colors in there. And then this one here is the Bad Habit. This one was the Subculture dupe. So that is my collection from Bad Habit. These are the two palettes that I have from Karity. This first one here is the Nudes and Rudes eyeshadow palette, so fairly large, fairly neutral palette there. This one is the Rosé All Day. This is one of their new eyeshadow palettes. It's so nice. I keep wearing it on my eyes lately. I just love the colors in here. So those are the two that I own from Karity. Next up, I have my Tarte eyeshadow palettes. This one here is the Swamp Queen in collaboration with a Graveyard Girl. So again, it's kind of that eye and face palette. Same one here with the Styled by Harouche palette. Again, you have eyeshadow shades and then also a blush shade in there. And then I do have the Tartelette in Bloom, definitely a YouTube made me buy it palette. This is one of my older palettes too. So those are the three that I own from Tarte Cosmetics. Up here I have these palettes from PUR. So this is the collaboration with Etienne, a makeup artist. So again, a fairly large palette here, some nice neutrals and a few pops of colors in there. This one is the collaboration with Trolls. I absolutely loved the Trolls palette. I thought it was so much fun. And then this one here, this one is the Dream Chaser palette. These again are eye and face palettes, but I typically use the eye shades out of this one. There's another one that I mostly use the face shades for, so I thought I would show this one in the eyeshadows. So that one is Dream Chaser, and those are my palettes from PUR. These are the two palettes that I own from Lorac. Both are collaboration palettes. This first one here is the Pirates of the Caribbean palette. So again, the packaging on both of these is super fun. The Pirates of the Caribbean one actually had this like special like little fold out drawer, and you could slot in the cheek palette also, so that was kind of fun. So that is the Pirates of the Caribbean. And then we also have the Beauty and the Beast palette. So again, really awesome packaging on both of these palettes. I won't say that they're like my most reached for palettes, but I just thought like the packaging was pretty sweet on these. So these are my two from Lorac. So I thought I could show my single eyeshadows since I have them kind of stored in palettes. So I just thought maybe that would be an interesting thing to see. So first up in this palette, we just kind of have like a mishmash of a bunch of different eyeshadows. I have Makeup Geek in here. I have Morphe in here. I have some from Devinah Cosmetics here on top. This is a contour shade from Makeup Forever. But just a variety of different shadows in this palette here. And then also in this palette, this is where I have some Krisanna Ann singles. This palette is also from Krisanna Ann Cosmetics, so I really like her single shadows. These three are her new ones from the Graces collection, and they are absolutely beautiful. So those are my ones from from Krisanna Ann Cosmetics. I have some more in here from Devinah Cosmetics. This one was a collection, the Pink Icing collection. So you have all these singles, and then these two are highlighters there. And then these two palettes have my Makeup Geek shadows in it. This first one here is like my first ever, the majority of these in here were my first ever Makeup Geek singles that I purchased. And I thought that was so cool because they were super hyped up on YouTube. So that is the first palette. And then this next palette here is also full of Makeup Geek singles also. These are kind of their like foiled shadows. When they came out with their foiled shadows, I got some as well. So those are all of the single shadows that I own. Up here I do have two palettes from Kat Von D. So I have the Shade and Light eye palette. This was one of my like first high-end eyeshadow palettes that I purchased. This next one here is the Saint and Sinner palette, which looks like so. So I have two palettes here from Kat Von D. Two of my newer eyeshadow palettes. These are from Stilazzi. They are a newer brand and they just launched these eyeshadow palettes. So we have the Spellbound palette, which is kind of more like the warmer palette with some colors in there. But the Stellar palette, I used this recently in a trying new makeup video. It's a cool tone palette and it's absolutely beautiful. I've been loving this palette so much. I haven't even played with Spellbound yet because I keep going into this one. So those are my two palettes here from Stilazzi. Up here I have two palettes from Pixi Beauty. This first one here was in collaboration with Dulce Candy. I almost said Dulce. I almost said Dulce de Leche. Hello. This was with Dulce Candy, so a bunch of shimmers there. You're supposed to be able to use them on your eyes or your face. And then the next one here was in collaboration with Wiley. I'm not 100% how to pronounce her last name, but you have some eye shades in here, matte and shimmers. So those are my two palettes from Pixi Beauty. Two palettes here from TheBalm. So this one here is the Nude Dude Volume 2 eyeshadow palette, which just has hilarious packaging. Absolutely enjoy it. Very neutral palette. This one here is Meet Matchmaker. This was the first palette that I tried from TheBalm and I was so impressed. I love the layout. I love like the concept behind it, and the shadows in here are so good. So I would recommend this palette for sure. And those are my two from TheBalm. My two that I own from BH Cosmetics. This one here is the Wild Child. This is one of their baked eyeshadow palettes. This one here is the deluxe edition collaboration with Carly Bible. So again, you have eyeshadow shades and face shades. I just adore Carly. I bought both of the palettes that she did. That one is the bigger eyeshadow palette that from her collaboration, and those are my two palettes from BH Cosmetics. Alrighty, so those are all of the brands that I have multiples of. So I'm just going to kind of run through my like single brand palettes here. It was really surprising to me that I only own one palette from Too Faced, but this is the Sweet Peach palette. I really enjoyed this palette. I've gotten on with it from the day that I've owned it, so that is my only palette from a Too Faced. I also have the Natasha Denona Mini Sunset palette. I did try the Mini Lila palette. I ended up having to return it because it irritated my eyes, but the Mini Sunset works out really well for me, so I still own this one from Natasha Denona. This one here from NARS, this is the Wanted Eye palette, which looks like this. I believe this came around last holiday time, I want to say it was. So that is the Wanted Eye palette. They also have Wanted Cheek palettes, so I had to double check to make sure I was saying that correctly. And then this one here is from Kevin Aquan. This is the Electro Pop eyeshadow palette. The shades in here are really interesting, like very creamy, yet still powder eyeshadows. Lots of colors in there. So that is from Kevin Aquan. Thought that I would pair these two together because they are both from YouTubers turned gals who started their own makeup lines. This one here is the Latte palette from Dominique Cosmetics. I got on really well with this eyeshadow palette. And this one here is from Persona Cosmetics, started by Simply Sonia, and this one is the Identity palette, a really, really nice eyeshadow palette. I really enjoy both of these. I have two kind of like indie style palettes here. This one also is from Krisanna Ann Cosmetics. I own some of her singles. This is her Olympus eyeshadow palette. And then also here from Black Moon Cosmetics, this is the Orb and Light Full Moon eyeshadow palette. Yes, there we go. So there's what that palette looks like. I feel like this one will be really good for fall also. And those are two more palettes in my collection. We are almost done. So these palettes here are going to round out my eyeshadow palette collection. This one here is from Sleek Makeup. This is the When the Sun Goes Down eyeshadow palette. This was the first palette I tried from Sleek Makeup and I was so impressed with it. A really nice palette. Nice price tag on it too, pretty affordable. This one here is from Molly Beauty. This is the eye and face palette from their Mallywood collection that released recently. This one here is from Soap and Glory. This is their Perfect 10 eyeshadow palette. So again, a very neutral palette. We've kind of seen a lot of those in this collection, I know. This one is from e.l.f. Cosmetics. This is the Matte for Matte eyeshadow palette. I believe this was the Matte for Matte 2. Unfortunately, I really do like the colors in here and the shades look pretty on the eyes, but e.l.f. Cosmetics, their eyeshadow palettes for some reason caused me really strong reactions. So I know it's on the chopping block for my declutter. And then this one here from Winky Lux, this is the Coffee palette. I actually really enjoyed this eyeshadow palette. It does have a pretty strong fragrance of coffee, so if you like coffee, you'd probably like it. But I really did enjoy this neutral eyeshadow palette. So after that is gonna do it for this eyeshadow palette collection video. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for today's video, my eyeshadow palette collection. I hope you enjoyed seeing my collection, all the different palettes I have in here. Like I said, I am planning on doing the declutter here shortly, so stay tuned for that. But otherwise, if you guys did enjoy this video, if there's any other parts of my makeup collection you want to see, please do let me know. But make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. I would love if you would consider subscribing before you go, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye!